Hey.
Hey, how you doing?
Great.
Cool.
Oh,
Cool. So my plan is to just run through the portal, then run through it on an endpoint device, show the end user's perspective.
yeah, no worries. Yes, it's good.
Yeah, we should be good.
Does Doug want you to record it?
Yeah, I have to record them.
Dang. Okay, but before people get
here, you definitely noticed that we are being recorded right now. Yeah, I have to record them so I can share them with the team, so that when they, if for it, essentially.
Oh, you dropped off for a second there. Vic Gomez, the partner. Oh, I shouldn't talk about another customer, I guess, while we're being recorded.
Oh, sorry, my phone just kicked me off the Zoom for a second. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
Okay, yeah, that's weird. My phone just jumped out of the Zoom. I saw that you were talking, but I couldn't hear you. What's up?
I don't want to put the MDR on their quote at all, and the partners do it.
Well, too bad it's not up to the partner.
I know.
If the partner wants to build quotes, he can dictate those things. If you're the one building the quote, you dictate those things.
Right.
Frankly, I think you dictate those things either way. But I think we do whatever we want to do, period. But they can have a little bit more control if they want to take it. If they're not going to do that, then you're the decision maker, period.
Zach, while we're here, just in case nobody gets on, do you want to
look? That won't look good for me, but I'll feel okay about it myself personally.
It's fine. You had a wedding, It's also in quarter. This would be great for January, February, I think.
Yeah, I think the idea is to do it monthly, right? So whatever. Cool. So sorry, what were you saying though? I totally interrupted you.
It looks like someone
What do you want me to take a look at?
Ceiling.
That would be Shirley.
Shirley. Oh, you invited Shirley.
I invited everybody.
Shirley, Checkpoint Shirley?
Yeah, of course. No, Shirley from TRS.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry, that is a reasonable confusion. Yeah. Well, this is a webinar, so
I think when you do a webinar, Zach, you can, I just said, hey, Shirley, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Wonderful.
Great. We forgot
Am I the only one to join that?
Yeah, as of right now you are. So unfortunately, as you know, I sent this out a little bit late. So this is the first one, and I was, trying to make sure that I was ready for it, which, happened just the nick of time, right? So for the moment, it's just us and you. So you can have a personal discussion if you'd like.
Thanks for joining, Shirley. You're our favorite now.
Yeah. You were always.
Yeah, it's our first one.
Yeah, looks like I'm the only one to join.
For this first one, given that I only gave you guys 5 days of notice, I'm okay with that. It's I can accept that it's that I messed up this time. So either way, I'm very glad that you joined, Shirley. This is exciting. Still, I still get to give my talk. I was a little afraid we were going to cancel. But in this case, it's maybe even more fun because you can stop me with questions and stuff the same way we normally would.
I see that on the, I'm sorry. I see that on the email you're talking about, this one is talking about the encryption of the media encryption. Is that talking about the laptop or the device that the user using to access the company's resource? Is that talking about that, or is this something else?
Yeah, so I mean, I can just go into it for you, but I understand, it's just me and you, so we can be, I appreciate the question. It's essentially, so there's a blade, and I'll just share my screen now. There's a blade called, can you see the appropriate screen?
Yeah, very well.
Okay, excellent. So Media Encrypt, it's Harmony Endpoint is the endpoint solution that you already have, right? Media Encryption and Port Protection is what MEPP stands for. It's really two different blades rolled into one. And we'll get there in a second, but actually let's just start. That'd be even better instead of going. Cool. So the format here, as I planned, was to kind of go through what exactly they are, how they can help you, and obviously originally it was meant to be more generic, but let's just talk about TRS while we got you. And then I was just going to show it in demo. So some of this stuff will be more than familiar to you because you have some background using the Endpoint suite. I don't believe you guys have actually turned on the media encryption port protection stuff yet. So, so let's talk about that stuff. So, you asked the question of what is it? Firstly, I'll answer that. It's it's where you can encrypt removable media. So, you were talking about, if it's encrypting the actual device. So in this case, we're dictating with the endpoint devices how they can access devices like USB flash drives. If you plug in a new hard drive, if you put in a CD or DVD, all of the things that we would classify as removable media, right? Removable devices. It's about that, right? So it dictates whether or not those have business partitions that should be encrypted. It dictates who has access to what types of drives. Really, at its core, when you find a USB stick in the parking lot, or when one of your employees find a USB stick in the parking lot, somebody will plug that in. And in this case, it is a policy on your endpoint devices that will say, actually, you're not allowed to access these types of devices. You're only allowed to access devices with a certain serial number or a certain brand name or whatever. It gets fairly granular, and I'll show you that in the actual demo portion. The other side of MEPP is port protection. That's really about the physical ports as well as the software ports. So when we're talking about things like we don't want anything to be plugged into the USB drive on the actual machine, or we don't want the Bluetooth to be accessible, or we only want them to be able to plug in specific types of devices, right? So in this case, it limits by device type and port. So, certain Bluetooth connections might not be allowed, certain specific devices might not be allowed. The idea here is it's just another layer to dictate what is and isn't allowed to access those endpoint machines. I just kind of commented on exactly this.
Can I have a question?
Yeah, of course.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
I'm afraid I forgot.
It's just me and you here. Let's talk. Yeah, what's up?
I'm afraid I forgot that later after you finish the.
No. Ask the question. That's always what it's for. Yeah, when we have a
highly
webinar with 1,000 people. Yeah, when we have a webinar with 1,000 people, we'll do a Q&A. But for now, it's just me and you. Please ask away.
Okay, one thing is this one is for the device or PC in the company, or it's talking about only the removable device like a USB drive or something?
Right. So this is part of the Endpoint suite. Yeah. Sorry. Finish. No, you should finish.
Okay. My question is, some device, for example, I have device I can use on my PC in TRS, and I can use on my laptop that I bring home. So if this device plug in to either one, that will be blocked, or I have to install some agent on the PC to make that works.
Yep, I hear you. So to answer, I guess we'll answer backwards. For starters, you don't need to install a PC. This is encryption on the device, so or on the removable media. So for example, and I'll show in my demo with a USB stick specifically, but like it's all about how you manage that policy. So like if you want, if you plug in a drive to the machine and you choose to encrypt it, if you cut the drive in half and say half of this drive is for business use only, and that's encrypted, that portion, and half of it's for non-business use, depending on your policy, then when you plug that USB stick into your work computer, that would be allowed access, theoretically, right? That would be allowed access to the business portion, to the encrypted portion of the memory. Whereas when you plug it into your device at home, if this is how you set it up, it might only have access to the personal part of the drive.
That's cool.
And so that's dictated by endpoint policy, and it's on the actual USB stick itself. At that point, we'll have half of and I'll show you. You'll have a partition for encrypted and for non-encrypted use. And this slide is I think it's fairly important to show, because we really don't talk about it elsewhere in the demo that I built here. So I wanted to make sure to show an architecture. The most important thing on this slide from my perspective is that the dotted line represents your internal organization. And the point here is that nothing involved here is internet based. There's direct connections between the management server, as I'm sure you know, because you're an endpoint customer, the endpoint server, the management server, and then, however you're accessing it via Smart Console or whatever, or in this case, the portal, and then all your clients. The point is that the communication between your clients and the media server and the policy server and all that stuff is all completely internal. We're not talking out through the internet, which I know is a concern for some customers. Mm-hmm. So that was really the story I wanted to tell really quick. And frankly, I'm now going to just switch over screens and start going through some demo stuff.
Okay.
So this first part will be very familiar to you, Shirley, because you know the endpoint suite. Mm-hmm. That said, I want to specifically dive into these two blades, which are the focal point for me today. So all this stuff is obviously familiar to you, and that's all well and good. Actually, this page got updated the other day. It's asset management instead of computers. So it looks a little different, but it's all the same stuff. Going back into policy, though, where I can show you these things specifically. So if I go over to the media encryption port protection is considered a data protection, kind of like a DLP would be on the gateway. So, this is where you do all your management. So full disk encryption, we're skipping today. I think you probably know a little bit about that. And if you have questions, I can always answer them, but I'm specifically focusing on the media encryption and the port protection. Mm-hmm. So as an example, this machine is called Sombra. It's applied just to this machine because it's easier for me to demo that way. And you can see I have media encryption turned on, so you can read encrypted. So this machine is allowed to read encrypted devices. They're allowed to read unencrypted devices, and they're allowed to write encrypted files to the drive. So for all intents and purposes, this machine this is a corporate machine that is fully allowed access to accessing drives. There's very little concern there by default. Where that changes is the read and write policy in here. So I've allowed you to read encrypted data. I've allowed you to read unencrypted data. But as far as writing data, I can write encrypted data. And then just to show you, these are how I've classified the file type. So non-business related data are going to be any of these types of files. Everything else is counted business related. If it's easier to look at it this way, you can look at it this way, right? You can always add new file types by category. You can create a new file type altogether. This can be an extension that you've chosen. This can either be even be an exact signature. So if you're saying I want only this one file to be accessible, you can do that.
So even same type of the file, you can split to business and non-business into the different category. That's just
exactly.
the file name.
So once,
okay.
Right. So once you partition the drive, essentially, if I plug in a USB stick that's never been seen by the corporate environment before, and that USB stick has, well, let's go to the business side. And this USB stick has spreadsheets on it or presentations or whatever, it will not allow me to plug that. It will not allow me to access those files in the computer unless we've already authorized them with the system, meaning that we've scanned them, and that if there are business related, actually by the policy I have in place, business related documents that have been scanned have to be deleted on the very first scan, because the implication there is that is a, one of these file types coming from someone on the outside. So you'll see that in a second when I plug it in. But that's really the core here. The idea is that you're able to dictate what file types are allowed into your business and non-business partitions, right? Anything that's part of the encrypted partition can only be read by machines that are in this environment and have access to reading encrypted data, right? If I unchecked this machine would not be able to read encrypted data no matter what. Excuse me. Lastly, for this section, the exclusion sector is actually really nice. I added, these are the two types of USB sticks I have. So, I could go to new, I could create a new device here, or I can use the existing devices. These are all the devices that have been plugged into my machine, right? So these are the two that I plugged in when I was building this. And I just added them to the list. So now you can see that one of my USB sticks is going to be accepted in full, and then it's going to have the read, write, and log events according to policy, which is back a moment ago. And then for the other device here, I have, no matter what the policy says, this drive, when plugged into the machine, must be encrypted. We will not allow this drive to be accessed or to be authorized or accessed unless it is encrypted for the business types or for the business data types. So that's really the meat here. There are some advanced settings in here having to do with, which files are considered authorized or unauthorized when you first plug it in. In this case, since I have spreadsheets and Word documents to be authorized, when I plug in the USB stick and authorize it in the first place, it will ask me to delete. I'll have to, as I mentioned before, I'll have to delete everything. I actually won't have to delete these two types of files because they're already considered authorized. Just kind of wanted to have more, other little things to show that really can get fairly granular. This is the messages as they come up on your end user devices. You can turn all of these off, which is what most admins would do. I only have it on so I can make sure to show you the actual demo. There's advanced encryption algorithm stuff. So talking about, how, in this case, the user is allowed to choose things during encryption. Otherwise, you can have all the encryption settings, set by you. The last few things here are less important to us today, but it's all about, confirming your management server, making sure that you only have access to encrypted devices at the sites you mentioned, right? So if you want it to be any corporate site, that's fine. If you only want the USB stick to be accessed in the HQ, for example, that would be how you do that. This is about what happens when you fail to get the password right. So once you encrypt it, it's password protected. If you fail to get the password right, in this case 5 times, the device is locked. I do not have it turned on to permanently locked device because I would have ruined my demo that way. But in short, this is the, you when you were building a policy out for yourself, you would probably go through these things and identify, what are important to you, and what are, less important, right? So that's kind of the media encryption. That's the whole policy. It's actually fairly straightforward. And I'll quickly show you port protection, and then I'll jump into the actual, into my actual virtual machines and show you what that looks like. So port protection is even more straightforward. It's just about the different devices that we're plugging in. So, and whether or not they're allowed access. You can either accept or block access. You can choose to log or not log. That's really it here. It talks about, specifically Android. It talks about printers that are plugged in. It's all these different things. And again, just like before, you can specify and create a new one. You can even go in all the way again and specify, super granularly, this is a new device type, it's being connected to the PC via an external interface. It's using, whatever, right? So it's a camera. We can give it specifically a serial number, or we can just say everything in this category, right? So that's the whole idea.
So looks like the port protection is basically based on the device, like a PC or laptop.
Yep. Yeah.
And the media encryption is talking about the USB drive or something like that.
Is encrypting the actual drive. Yeah. So the port protection is about kind of when I say ports, I guess we mean both software and hardware, right? So like the USB ports on the side of your computer, we're talking about those, but we're also talking about like the programmatic ports as they're opened by the computer, right? For Bluetooth, for whatever connections need to be made to the outside world. Those are all ports that can be managed by Checkpoint.
And the media, the device of the media, like a USB drive or something, is that any kind of USB drive, or that is a Checkpoint device?
No, it's anything at all. So going back to the Exclusion Center, so there are certain devices that in this case are default as Checkpoint, but then these two are just third-party devices that I own, right? I have a SanDisk Fit is the small USB that I'll mostly be using. And again, you can clarify, if I plug a new drive into this computer, it'll populate on this list. Additionally, I can create a new device like I just clicked out by accident. Additionally, I can show you, we can create a new device here, which will let you do the same way we did a second ago. Like if we want to do, like a test device, it'll be how it's, the same idea, how we're plugging it in. In this case, we'll call it removable media. You can even specify down to a specific serial number and say, actually, this policy line refers to only this one USB stick that I'm going to hand to the other admin, so that kind of thing.
That's nice.
Yeah, I think it's great. That's why it's something that I wanted to talk about, is that, the reason for this talk ultimately is that I think it's a pretty powerful tool that most customers aren't using. So I wanted to make sure to get that opportunity in here. So
how can we try that?
I don't remember exactly what license you currently have, but either way, you either already have it, or I can get you a trial license for sure.
I'll look into that right now, guys.
Maybe we have that already, the media encryption. I don't know.
Yeah, you very well might. I just don't remember off the top of my head. I know we're running low on time, but I do just quickly want to kind of show you what it looks like.
Please.
So for starters, this is what it'll look like. This is you might recognize this from your workstation, right? This is what your endpoint security looks like. Specifically in this case, we have media encryption for protection. So this device has been authorized, but has never been, so it's been scanned, but I never did anything with it, right? I didn't encrypt it because it currently is empty. So for how a user can create encrypted storage, first off, when I plug this in for the first time, it'll come up. I just didn't want to do that right now. So instead, I'm going to show it here. So this is kind of what that looks like when you want to encrypt your device. You have, you can choose what type of file system it is. You can choose which owner it is. So in this case, it would be this user that has access. Alternatively, it can be, if you as the admin are creating this device, you would then hand it to the user and say, the moment you plug it in, it's your device. Don't give it to anyone else first, right? Because that would be, we'd be assigning users.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so I'm not going to actually encrypt this right now. I'm going to show you what it looks like when I plug in a device that already has encryption. So I just plugged that in. We're going to connect the device to Sombra. It's going to pop up in this list, but it's also going to pop up in a moment. So this disk has already been encrypted. As you can see here, this disk has both the normal drive, and then what you don't know yet is that this part of the drive is actually encrypted and for business use only. So as of right now, I've not been authorized yet. So I'm going to try and access this drive and it's going to say no. I'm going to try and access the business data as well. And it's also going to say no. And the reason for that is right here. We haven't finished our scan. So these are all the files that are on the device that are unauthorized because of the way that I've set up the admin console in the portal. It's going to, in order to gain authorization to this corporate machine, I need to delete these files. That's the idea, that if I found a drive out on the street, in order to plug it in, I would have to delete everything risky first. So I'll go ahead and do that. It takes a second, it'll delete all of them. A window pops up for the user that says we found no unauthorized files. Just like that, I should now be able to access the drive.
So
I've now been authorized.
The file you delete was not your file. That was something already in that thumb drive.
Yep, it was something that was already on the thumb drive that in this case was an unauthorized file type. So that would be completely up to you guys. But like you can see actually, because I remember I mentioned that Excel sheets and Word documents were not going to get deleted. So here are those examples. And if we want to go back to the business data, which you can access through here as well, this is a long way to do it. You can see what's in there. Oops, let me do it through here. We should have access. This might not be. So the reason that I don't have access actually is because when I first built this USB stick, I built it on a different VM, and that is the only assigned user, which is totally up to. Oh no, it's because we never did the scan on the second. All right, so let's go ahead and delete these, and then we should have access. Cool. So it scanned through both sides now. A second ago, we scanned the unencrypted portion, and now we've scanned the encrypted portion, so we have access. Yeah, there it is. And same thing, these are the authorized file types are the only ones that don't need to be deleted when you first boot up. That's, the bulk of it. The one other thing I wanted to, and then you can kind of see in here, right? You can see when it was created, who created it, all those sorts of things. You can see that this partition is encrypted, that this one is not. You can see that they are, connected here. They're both part of the same drive. One other thing I wanted to quickly show you is what it looks like when you plug into a machine that doesn't already have access. So if I plug this back, let me pull this back up. If I plug this back in, I'm going to get the same window. I'm going to say, no, I want to connect it to my actual host and not the VM. So now when I get rid of this, I should be able to show you the tiny drive, which we have not scanned this before. So I'm going to click on this. And what you can't see, because it popped up in the wrong window, is this. Now, I am not the registered owner of this device. So in order to access this device, I need to input a password. Let's see if I remember my password. And I got it wrong. Let's try one more time. And so now I just heard my Windows machine in the background chime that I'm now connected to this machine. So if you go back a second, you can even see now both drives are recognized. I've entered my password so I can access this drive, no problem, right? You can see the Word documents that I mentioned, the spread Excel documents that are also authorized that you saw on the other machine a moment ago. Same idea, I can jump right into the encrypted business data because again, I have verified that I'm accepted, that I'm an allowed user because I knew the password, right? So that's kind of the last thing I wanted to show, is to make sure that we're very clear that, passwords, that plugging into a new computer doesn't, just because it has corporate access doesn't mean they automatically have access. It's still password protected based on the owner of the drive.
And sorry to jump in. I just know that we're coming up on the end of time. Shirley, you're a fantastic audience. And I also just wanted to mention though, that you guys, you have the Harmony endpoint data package, which does include port protection and hosted media encryption. So, maybe we could set a time aside to show you how to turn it on, those features.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, it's good in the past that I have. So if you want, we can jump on a call with you, pending your availability. I don't imagine it would take too long.
Okay,
not
yeah, I think
easy.
I will need to set up I will talk to Igor and Amit about this, see if we need to do something on this one. This one looks cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
no,
it's
I think it's
included,
great, and
so
we can
it's
show
just a
you.
matter of turning it on. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I can sit down and show you how it works with Igor and sorry, who was it? Igor and Bing, you said? Either way, happy
Bing,
to sit down with whoever.
right,
Yeah, happy to
because
sit down and walk through it with them. The same way we just walked through it with you, but even more intimately, right? So
yeah, I know today the time is kind of limited and we cannot go detail, but now I have the idea how is this one works, and I believe they should be interested on that, because the directors, whoever, they bring the flash drive, there may be
right, of course.
something happened. Yes, so I will talk with can you send your presentation file to me, so I'm going
yeah, I can actually.
yeah, then I will talk to Igor, see if they're interested that we can
Yep.
implement in TRS on this.
Yep.
And
One other thing I'll mention is that SK at the bottom here, this SK166110, I just clicked on it, it should open. I'll include this in the email as well, but that is the there's an SK for this specifically. And so, oh, my computer's not happy with me. I have too many things open. There we go. So this would be the, how, it's all of the like best practices, all that sort of stuff as it pertains to this blade. So of course I'm happy to go through all of it with you, but that site might have better information than I even do. So, so yeah, I mean, that's the story though. I don't need to necessarily show you this right now, but whatever, I can sign in really quick. So yeah, you'll see this SK. I'm sure you have some familiarity with SKs, but it kind of will go through best practices, how to set up, lots of those sorts of things, introduction. So a lot of the stuff that I prepared, I mean, you'll recognize this diagram, but a lot of the stuff that we spoke about today came from this, and I didn't want to do a deep dive. I didn't include this architecture. But when we schedule another call, I'll happily go into more and more detail with you guys. So sounds good to me.
Yeah, I think you just needed to send this file to me. This SK16.
Right. Oh yeah, I'll include the. Yeah, I can send you.
I think then
I can send you the presentation as well that has some like summary stuff, or even I can copy and paste it into an email, and then I'll also include the SK for sure.
Yeah, and I will get back to you after I talk with Igor.
Yep. No rush. That's great. Thank you for joining. By the way, I know we already said it, but
our first attendee.
Thank you very much. I'm glad I joined it because this one looks like, at least I'm interested on that. And one more thing, since I think I have just 1 minute.
Yeah.
Zach, we were talking about our endpoint. Can you tell me, shoot me email like a couple of times that you're available, that I can ask you some questions about our VPN endpoint, about the HCV file. So because I just
I can include that in an email. It might be nice to get those questions over email first, so I can be sure I have those answers when we meet. But either way, yeah, I can include some offers for times. Let me just see. You said SCV and VPN stuff. All right, cool. So yeah, sounds good.
I
include that as well.
that's the thing is I did a couple of testing this days, that I'm thinking of remove the SCV files, some settings in the SCV file, and then so we can use the endpoint, I mean the cloud service portal, to control the SCV file. So,
Right.
but
Okay.
I'm not sure if my sync is right. So I already set up a meeting with Bing talking about for today at 3 o'clock. So after I figure out how to think about it, and then I need you to help me out on that.
Absolutely, more than happy to do so. So yeah, so I'll include a note about, you know, availabilities later this week. I guess tomorrow? Today's already Thursday. Wow.
Yeah, it's no rush. I will
so
be.
Yeah, sounds good though. I'll absolutely more than happy to help. Right, we'll just get on a call. You'll show me exactly what we're talking about, and we'll take it from there. That's no problem. Happy to help.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Shirley. Excellent. Great job, Zach.
Thank
Bye
you.
now.
I'm glad to see you. Okay.
Yep. All right. Thanks again.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.